Welcome back again to part 8. Last time in Terra Firma Greg I spent over 20 hours processing gallium and arsenic to make diodes for my first MV circuits. This allowed me to enter medium voltage with 4 major machines, one machine to turn lapis into aluminum, silicon, and chlorine, and these 3 machines to process monocrystalline silicon boules into wafers for integrated circuits. With these circuits I am now able to make tons of MV circuits to greatly expand my factory and begin true automation. So this episode is definitely going to be aimed towards MV infrastructure. I want to start automating some resource production because I can use a rock breaker, which is basically a cobblestone generator in a box, and it can produce a bunch of different things here. This one gives straight aluminum, but the one I really care about is diorite. It's one of the best at this stage of the game. It can be ground up in an MV macerator and then centrifuged into clay and mirabilite. And then this clay dust would have been the best source of aluminum if it wasn't so hard to get, but with diorite it's completely automated. But yeah, that's going to be for later. Right now I definitely need more power. So I'm thinking, just like in LV, we're going to have 3 turbines powering an 8x battery buffer, so just LV but scaled up. That'll need a ton of lithium. Either that or I use sodium batteries instead, because sodium isn't even that much worse. Oh, it really isn't that much worse. Yeah, I'm gonna use sodium, because we have so much sodium from sodalite electrolysis. Also a ton of silicon, but this is already more than enough sodium, and I can just turn these into batteries. While all the batteries are being made, I'm gonna work on the turbines, because I do want 3 turbines powering this. I don't think I should have enough amperage for this, but it's working, so I'm not complaining. And this should be basically all of the motors we'll need for a good portion of this episode. Turbine 1 and Turbine 2. Okay, finally the battery alloy is done, so I can make all of these battery hulls. So using sodium batteries doesn't give me the best result, because it is significantly worse than lithium batteries. Lithium batteries are usually overkill anyways, so it shouldn't be too bad. Okay, one of the last components. We can now make our battery buffer. And this one is a huge battery buffer using 8x cables. Okay, so that's where the cables are gonna go, and then I can also get all of these turbines down. And then we put all the batteries in there, and this is a crazy battery buffer. So now all of the power goes down this line, and we can run 8 MV machines at the same time. So I'm gonna make a bunch more machines. First thing I want to do is manual polyethylene. And polyethylene needs a chemical reactor, LV, with ethylene and air, or oxygen. Oxygen's better. And then this ethylene, best recipe would be ethanol and sulfuric acid. I can make sulfuric acid right now. And the ethanol needs an MV distillery. So that means MV chemical reactor and MV distillery, which shouldn't be too bad. So the chemical reactor needs 2 circuits and a motor, while the distillery needs 2 circuits and a pump. Yet another machine hull for the day, and I believe that's already enough for the chemical reactor. So usually I automate polyethylene instead of making it manually, but I just don't think that's necessary yet. I just need some polyethylene and I want it immediately. So there's our MV pump, and there's our MV distillery. So these 2 machines are the only machines you actually need for making polyethylene, so let's start making that. So there's 6 seconds to make some biomass. I can put the biomass in there, and that makes us 600 millibuckets of ethanol. And I can output it on this side. Sulfuric acid is the other part of this, and the best way I know to make it is hydrogen sulfide and oxygen. We have 16 buckets of hydrogen here, and a little bit of sulfur in here. Okay, so we're gonna take the oxygen and the hydrogen sulfide. Why is it doing that? I don't want sulfur dioxide. Okay, so this is gonna get a little bit more annoying now, because I have to take out this sulfur dioxide, And then I have to set this on 2 to make the sulfuric acid I can still make with the hydrogen sulfide in there. And then, yeah, I think I can still use all of this, because I can put the sulfur dioxide in there to make sulfur trioxide, and then take these 3 buckets of sulfur trioxide and combine it with the buckets of water I got earlier. Okay, so that's perfectly even, so there was no loss, it was just a bit annoying. So there, this distillery is now making ethanol, which goes into here, and we're making ethylene, manually. We're gonna produce about 3 buckets of ethylene. 3 buckets of ethylene gets us, I think, 4 buckets of polyethylene, or just over. That can be solidified into polyethylene sheets, which are used for everything. Clean rooms, we can start making patterns for AE2. Gas mask filter, this is the real stuff, because this lets us hold lead properly. Bunch of other things. So now, we have ethylene, we even have a bit of diluted sulfuric acid, which I can recycle, but I can take this ethylene over to this chemical reactor over here. This will very slowly produce our new plastic. So, what is polyethylene? Well, like I just said, it is plastic. Basically, every little bit of plastic in the world, we produce tens of millions of tons of polyethylene each year. I actually have a bottle right here, and it's polyethylene, but this is used in all plastic in real life, and because of that, it is also very common plastic in GregTech. If I just scroll through these assembler recipes, a lot of these are A2 recipes, actually. So, of course, let's get a mold here and actually solidify it. We have a polyethylene sheet. Very early into the episode, and I've already invented plastic. But this also means that I can technically get the hazmat suit. Because lead plates we can get, rubber sheets we can get, and PVC can just be made with vinyl chloride, which is ethylene and chlorine. So after inventing plastic, I ended that recording not knowing what I had just done by mentioning the hazmat suit. The next day I started recording with the main goal of getting that hazmat suit, not knowing how long it would take or how it would break me. I want a hazardous materials suit chest piece, which I believe includes the gloves needed to handle things like arsenic and beryllium without dying. Ironically, it actually needs lead plates, but the important part is this PVC. So polyvinyl chloride needs vinyl chloride, and that just needs ethylene and chlorine gas, and because of sodalite processing, we already have a ton of chlorine in here, 36 buckets. That's actually crazy. Okay, there we go. Chlorine and ethylene. I can very easily just make 2 buckets of vinyl chloride right here. Okay, there. Just like that, we're making PVC. So we just made the 2 major plastics manually in this chemical reactor. I'm gonna auto-output all of this now. Okay, there. So we have PVC, and we can immediately work on all of this hazmat stuff. I can put the lead plates in, 7 PVC sheets, and 2 rubber sheets. Just a 10-second recipe. And hopefully I was right about this. I don't think I need the whole set to hold arsenic. So we have the chest piece, and there's only really one true way to test this. We have gallium arsenide here. No, it does not work yet. That's actually a problem. So that does mean I need a pyrolyze oven, or at least I need the pants and the boots. I can do that. I just don't want to make a pyrolyze oven immediately. So I need 7 PVC sheets, 2 iron rods. I'll need a little bit of thin polyethylene, but that's why we made it. 2 rubber sheets, 5 PVC, 4 steel rings, and 2 iron rods. And then I just need that thin polyethylene sheet. I think I can just make it in the bender? Yeah, I can. And it's an instant recipe. There we go. There we go, almost a full hazmat suit. So this should let us actually hold arsenic now. And if I'm wrong, once again, we have to go all the way to the pyrolyze oven. Yep, okay, fun. Time to make the pyrolyze oven in our quest to make a hazmat suit. Okay, so if I want to make a pyrolyze oven, it's gonna need a lot of wrought iron in basically everything. And unfortunately, we have run out of iron. We have this stack of poor hematite, or hematite, And the best way to process that is just the forge hammers. This is gonna get us about 48 iron, which I don't think is enough for the whole thing. Plus, we should make... well, we should get more iron anyways. So I'm gonna get a drill, because we should have one by now. But yeah, we have all of these components quite easily. The MV power unit is the only thing that sets it apart from hammers. And then we need the drill head, which needs the plate of your choice, and then 4 steel plates. Okay, so our battery's done. There, MV power unit. Blue steel drill head, and MV blue steel drill. This thing needs to be charged. Okay, so now we can actually try out this drill. And the cool thing is, like I guessed, the durability does not actually matter. It says you can just craft it with a new tool head to replace. Oh, and it works on dirt as well. But yeah, you can see why this is useful. We're just gonna blaze right through our iron mine. I want to do it right, though. And to do it right, I have a couple of ideas. Okay, we're here at the hematite mine. For the last time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover every single surface that has air beneath it. And I mean directly cover it. Because if I'm just a few blocks down, then it'll try to cause a cave-in. So this is what I did in the tetrahedrite mine. The tetrahedrite mine was too far gone at that point, so this strategy wasn't very helpful, but in the emerald mine and the lead mine, I used this to get stacks and stacks of ore without a single cave-in. That's why those whole expeditions were cut out, because absolutely nothing interesting happened. This is getting a little bit too far, because now this is over unsupported rock. Okay. Great to know that I was mining over that. That was a horrible idea. Okay, so I've been mining for about 45 minutes. I've completely removed all of the roofs here. I've merged it with the cave down here. I don't think I ever showed this cave, but it's why I stopped last time, and now it's completely merged with the mine. The roof is completely covered, and I've mined out a wall that used to go up to there, and now goes all the way down here. This has given us about as much hematite as last time we were here, and that means that I'm definitely not done. In fact, basically I've finished the preparation phase. I can now start going down. Okay, that is the most terrifying thing you can see in Terra Firma Craft. I love this. These supports are standing on cobblestone, floating in the air, and cobblestone is affected by gravity, but because there's supports here, this cobblestone can't fall, and the supports can't break because it's on cobblestone that's supported by the support. Some pseudoscience shit. I wonder if I could go supportless. I completely take that back. And now it's completely fine with supports. I think that's just a message from the game to just not do that. So I've hit the bottom of both of these caves, and if I've cut through this, I really just need to show this, because this entire room is artificial at this point. There's a little bit that used to be a cave. I think that bed used to be at the bottom of like a 8-block tall cave. There's that ravine there that's kind of been engulfed. I'll probably get some camera move to show the before and after for this, but it's such a huge area, and I have so much hematite and other iron ore from it. So all of these are stacks, and then over here I have non-stacks. So this is by far the largest iron haul of the whole playthrough. I've spent about an hour and a half mining, and in-game, I think 7 days. Probably longer, someone will do the math. We will definitely be in HV by the time we need iron again. Okay, so this aluminum crate is dedicated to hematite. So aluminum crates are a bit ridiculous. I will definitely have other things in this crate, but for now, it is just hematite. But this is our full haul. I need to figure out what happened to my gold. Okay, so now I can just use a hopper to do this. We'll arc furnace all of our iron. Not all of it. I'm definitely overkill on wrought iron. This can't be right. ULV machine casing. There's only one. It's just so expensive. Not really, I guess, because of all the mining I did. Okay, there. 4 ULV machine hulls. And this thing will handle all of our item and fluid input and output. Okay, there. LV muffler hatch. So that's all the LV hatches done. I'll put them away for now. The ULV hatches are a lot easier. In fact, I already have all the materials in my inventory now. We can go ULV output hatch, ULV input hatch, ULV input bus, and ULV output bus. So now I can get the pyrolyze oven. So this needs just as many coils as the EBF did, which kinda sucks to do, but whatever. And yes, it is formed. So this is a pyrolyze oven now. So this thing will take MV on one side and output 4 amps of LV on the other. Hopefully this doesn't destroy anything. There we go. The energy hatch is full, and I can grab some carbon dust here. Here we go. No, why? Is this not actually 64 EU? I thought it was. I guess, yeah, the circuit got reset. There, finally, okay. So now our pyrolyze oven is running. I assume the nitrogen is to create an oxygen-free environment for the carbon. I don't know exactly what that does to it chemically, because I don't know this process in real life. But I do know the GregTech process. It gives us activated carbon, which is what we need for this gas mask filter. There we go. Gas mask filter. Now I do need to check something before we make this last bit, because it needs a PVC ring. You're actually kidding me. PVC rings need an extruder to work. They tried to make this hazmat suit as difficult as possible to get. So we're gonna have to take 2 small detours at the same time here. The first detour is that we need more PVC. The other problem is that we need an extruder to actually run the recipe for rings, and extruders only work at MV. So I'm gonna have to make an MV piston and another hull. And I'm gonna do this as fast as possible because as of recording this, it is 11:30 AM and I do not have enough sleep for this shit. We get the pipe, and we get the extruder. So the extruder can use shape plates instead of molds, and these things can do anything. I can turn metals directly into gears, same with rotors. There's things like these rings, which we can get 4 instead of 2 per ingot. But some of the cooler things are like bolts, skipping a step in the recipe and being much faster. All we care about is that ring part because it's the only way to change plastic into a ring. Okay, there's a PVC ingot. And then we can extrude it basically instantly into 4 rings. We only need 1. These recipes are literally just trolls. Like, come on. Bro, the game's gonna start spawning phantoms with how tired I am in real life. Please just be done. Yes! Yes, finally! Okay! Can I please hold my arsenic now? We have our full hazmat suit. Kinda looks goofy, but whatever. And now I pull the gallium arsenide out of my backpack and I'm fine. I can hold this stuff now. I'm finally done with toxins. Last episode had by far the most of these kinds of things. Just every recipe. Oh, here's some arsenic. Oh, you want to go mine emerald? Here's some beryllium. I'm gonna go to bed, but next play session, I think I'm gonna work on diorite. I'll figure out then. So the next factory I want to make would be a diorite processing factory. So diorite can be made infinitely in a rock breaker, which will be put in the macerator, which does need to be MV, but it's not that high of a cost. Then that diorite dust can be centrifuged into mirabolite and clay. Clay, we've seen, gives lithium, aluminum, silicon, and sodium. Mirabolite gives us oxygen and sulfur. And so that means that this is an infinite source of sodium, lithium, aluminum, oxygen, and I want to fully automate it so that it can just run passively, and then even though we're using slow machines on a relatively bad recipe, it can actually be a good recipe because I'm running it infinitely. Okay, so for this factory, we're gonna need an LV rock breaker, an LV centrifuge, an MV macerator, and 2 MV electrolyzers. So I'm gonna start with the LV machines. That means getting the centrifuge, the rock crusher, and the transformer. And why I'm using a transformer is just because I don't want to make my own LV power generation just for the 2 machines we have. Okay, here's all of our LV hulls. Okay, and here's our motors. That's more than we'll need. Okay, the first machine is the rock crusher. So I just want to place the rock crusher here and make sure it doesn't get MV power, because if it gets MV power, then it explodes. So yeah, this is just a cobblestone generator in a box, and in less than a second, it creates 1 cobble. So then I'm going to make the other LV machine, except this one won't be used yet. There we go, basic centrifuge. So now we need to make our MV machines. Okay, there's our MV casings, and there's our 3 MV hulls. 2 advanced electrolyzers. There's our piston. That is the last thing we need, except for the copper cables. The new recipe for copper cables is really annoying. Okay, but for real this time, we have our MV macerator. And that should be the last thing we need, because I can connect it up to here. And it's rapidly making diorite dust. That's actually insane. So this system's actually running faster than I thought it would, and I could probably get away with just stuffing an aluminum crate on it and waiting. Because by the time that aluminum crate is not enough, I will have better storage methods, like super chests. Okay, so now the factory is nearly complete. So this rock crusher produces diorite cobblestone to be crushed into diorite dust, which gets centrifuged here. This is the slowest part of the whole factory. And then that creates mirabolite and clay, which gets electrolyzed to create oxygen, water, silicon, sodium, aluminum, lithium, and sulfur. So that's why diorite processing is powerful. Now, there is no iron in here. For some reason I thought there was, but I was wrong. And that's not really disappointing. I mean, we have infinite aluminum now, and infinite silicon. It just means I'll need a separate factory for iron. Okay, so the next thing I want to automate would be rubber production. And the best way to do that would be to automatically cut down Capok trees. So there's a few ways of automating Capok, or any tree. The first way would be to use the GregTech way in the electric greenhouse. You take water, a sapling, and MV power, and makes a bunch of Capok logs. The other way would be to plant a bunch of trees in a circle and get a create saw to cut them all down automatically. Okay, here's a big flat area, and I'm gonna turn this into our Capok farm. This thing has just been running non-stop since I built the factory, producing aluminum. We now have more aluminum than steel, because aluminum's easier to make now. Interestingly, the cheapest saw in this list now is aluminum saws. I could do wrought iron, but that needs a bit of arc furnace processing, and also iron is not infinite, aluminum is. There we go. 15 aluminum buzzsaw blades. Unless I just forget how to make the thing. There. 5 mechanical saws. Okay, here's all our brass hands. So we have 5 brass hands, 5 electron tubes, and 5 metal casing to get all of our deployers. So the actual machine that's going to be doing this is essentially done. And my favorite way of spinning these things is just to have a mechanical bearing in the middle, and that mechanical bearing is powered by a water wheel. Oh, stop. Okay, and then we can just grab the super glue. So yes, that is one structure now. I believe if I update the bearing, yes, that thing is spinning very fast, and if it were to go in front of me, I would die. I'm just gonna grab some Capok here and see if it puts it in the chest once I get it spinning. Oh no. Okay, am I even allowed to do a contraption like this? Because that just crashed the game. Okay, it has been probably about an hour since... Well, like, I've been playing for an hour since the last recording, and it's because of this thing. That little crash I had was not a little crash. So, basically, long story short, it was not just breaking a log that crashed the game, but apparently this entire contraption was broken. If the bearing changed speed, it would crash the game. If I stopped it, it would crash the game. If it tried to break a log like that, it would crash the game. Some other things also made it just crash the game instantly. I was stuck in a loop where I would have to slowly get over here, and then like 30 seconds after joining the game, it would crash, then I'd slowly get closer until I finally broke the bearing. The main thing is when this water wheel changes speed, it will crash the game. And I can just fix that by either using a windmill bearing or make sure the water never freezes. Another thing is that this aluminum crate will definitely not work. And I don't think it's related to the crashes, it's just that someone on Flurbin's server said that would cause some problems later. So these crashes kind of messed me up. I almost thought I lost the world and decided to record this shader review to calm down. And because I was still too scared to touch my Demon Core tree farm, I decided to switch to making a boatload of integrated circuits to prepare for future factories. To make these circuits I made another huge mine for tin, which will be enough to last until HV. Can't really see any of it, unless I go take off my torch and then just turn up the brightness a lot. Okay, with that tin we finished our MV circuit, so now we have 16 of both tiers. Okay, I kinda wanna start up the farm now, since there's so many trees actually done now. Here's the problem with starting the tree farm. If the water on the water wheel ever freezes, then it will change speed, and apparently if create contraptions to change speed, then the game instantly crashes. So there's two ways of fixing this, actually three ways. Either I use a windmill instead, which I still think is up to fluctuation, I wouldn't risk it. I could keep lava near the water wheel so that the water never freezes, or I could use a steam engine instead. You know what, I was gonna go with the water wheel idea, but steam engine's kind of cool. I'm gonna do that. Okay, now we have an extruder mold for gears, and so I can just turn 4 ingots into a gear. At only 56 EU a tick, that's shockingly cheap. Okay, here's our steam engine. So a while ago I actually asked Flurbin about these, since they confused me a lot, and apparently you can just use lava to heat up the water inside of a tank. Campfires work in normal create, but lava, I don't know. Yeah, so it has water now, but it is too small. Yeah, size says it's good now. Okay, so this should be self-sustaining. It's going, it hasn't crashed yet. That didn't crash the game. That is progress. Now, something I did just realize... Oh, it's planting. It's doing it. It's actually planting all of the Capok. So something I didn't realize or didn't think about is it can't actually store logs in there. I don't know where it's putting the logs, but it can't go in... Normally, it can't go in chests. That's terrifying. Also, I don't know how to stop this machine. This is the most terrifying thing I've ever built. I do not know how to stop it, and it's gonna keep making me Capok. But it hasn't crashed, and it cut all the trees. I don't think I'll ever turn off that machine, though, unless I really need to. Oh, I do need to, because I didn't put an item interface on it. Smart. You can't stop it normally. If you right-click this mechanical bearing, it kills the game. Also, if I break this, I'm pretty sure it kills the game. So I'm pretty sure I have to break the mechanical bearing itself. Yes, okay, it didn't crash, and I believe we have all of our stuff. So this is very glitched. And I have one mechanical belt left. I think I can make these out of rubber? I can't. Luckily in a new version they added a way of doing leather in the assembler and chemical bath. Why isn't it moving the belt? Oh, it is moving the belt. It just doesn't seem like it. Here we go again. Hopefully it doesn't crash again. So now it's gonna stay here and very slowly unload. And it doesn't stay there for long, that's good. In fact, it's spacing that out perfectly. But now this Capok automatically goes into this crate, and that is automatic and infinite. We're just gonna get a constant stream of Capok going into this crate, which later I'll have a factory here to process. For now, though, I am just gonna manually centrifuge these. So that is a huge leap forward, and now I don't have to deal with that demonic, absolutely terrifying machine. So right after that, OBS decided that my mic didn't exist and didn't record another 2 hours of gameplay. In that time, I built this brick of a factory, processing my infinite Capok into unlimited rubber pulp, carbon dust, glue, and biochaff for plastic. While I don't have voice for this, I still have the original video, so here's a quick building montage. Then, before I finally realized my mic was off, I explained the next factory, an iron and phosphorus factory, which uses this recipe for Conglomerate in a similar factory to our diorite line. But connect now. Yes, so fun. Okay, did I do anything important? I explained a lot of things. Why did it disconnect? Why did my mic disconnect? Thank you, OBS. I'm glad I have 2 monitors now, because I would have gone the whole recording without knowing that. To summarize what has just happened, basically, I just very quickly threw together some basic integrated circuits. I had all of the resources already, and then immediately made a centrifuge, because I have all of those materials. So I'm just gonna pump out all of the remaining machines. There's the piston, there's the robot arm, there's the conveyor, which means I just need 2 chests. There, and I can make the packer, basic rock crusher. So that's all 3 machines right there. And I'll just get a macerator and we can build the factory. Oh, I should probably check things like this before actually making everything. Okay, so the Conglomerate cobble and the packer are both LV, but this centrifuge is not. So this is yet another machine that we did not need to make that we're just gonna have to throw away. Another thing this means is that this isn't actually enough power, I don't think. And I could just upgrade this annealed line instead, which would keep things pretty clean and neat over here. You know what? I like that idea way more. I have this 4 amp cable going all the way through here. I've upgraded all of our wires to annealed. It took quite a while, but basically I just used that packer over there to take all of our copper cables, turn them into wires and rubber, and then anneal the copper cables. So now I can just lay out our factory. So we have a packer, a macerator, and a new MV centrifuge, because the LV one was wrong. And then we're going to want a macerator there. Macerator goes into a centrifuge, which then gets sorted and put into a packer. I'm going to start starving to death, but the factory comes first, because I can hook up these machines, and that is everything connected. Why won't you connect? Because it doesn't have power. Why doesn't it have power? Oh no! So, like every factory, all my realizations come at the very end, and the most important realization is that this is a conglomerate factory, which means I need to put conglomerate into this rock crusher as a template, so that it can continue making more stuff. Conglomerate is a sedimentary rock that I literally have not found. Actually, I have found it. Yes, over here, the Bismuth Mountains. Also, my map got reset, so everything's annoying right now. But yeah, you can see the color of it on the map. This is all conglomerate. I don't want to go all the way down there just for, like, we haven't been down there in so long. The Arnians are probably also pissed. Point is, we need conglomerate, and I have no clue if there's any better source of it anywhere on this continent. I think that's conglomerate. Best route there would probably be to cut to this river, go through here, and go through this river. Then I should also bring some of my garlic. You know the trip's gonna be successful when I bring garlic along. So I can get this in the rock crusher, and we can be done with it. Okay, so the first part of this factory is pretty easy to do. We just get this rock crusher, output it into this macerator, which will go very fast, and then I can output that into this MV centrifuge, and now power cost might be too high. So yeah, this is gonna slowly build up, and here's are gold. Not literally, because this definitely is not gold. This makes phosphate, which can be electrolyzed into phosphorus, which we can then alloy to make manganese phosphide, which I think I've said before is a really good LV superconductor. I say really good, it's the only one. So yeah, this setup is not quite as good as I thought it would be, because for some reason they decided to make it very slow. Like I said, we can just leave this on forever, and that'll eventually build up our stuff. We have done basically everything there is to do in MV. There is one other recipe that I could turn into a factory, and it's lava centrifuging, because you can take the infinite lava we get from hose pulleys, put it in an MV centrifuge, and get a small chance of getting any of these. But because we don't really need manganese, magnesium, or gold yet, I will leave that for later. So what I actually want to work on is getting into HV already. So right now our EBF is not running as it's supposed to. Earlier it was flickering, it was really bad. We can't run this turbine with it all. We don't have enough steam anymore because we run so much stuff at the same time. And this boiler, I actually moved the hatch because I thought I'd make another one. This boiler is just not enough anymore. And I just said I'm not making another one, so what am I gonna do? Well, I'm not gonna make another bronze boiler, but I could theoretically get a steel boiler, because the large steel boiler is over double the amount of steam production. Now it's also gonna have over double the cost, but I can easily handle that. The first problem with getting a large steel boiler is these HV circuits, which is part of the reason why we got integrated circuits, and it's also the reason we got plastic, because they're needed in transistors. So the only thing we're missing for these HV circuits are these RAM chips, because I can make transistors now. So RAM chips need a RAM wafer, and they need a green lens, which needs emerald. And we have a bunch of emerald, conveniently. We might even have an exquisite emerald. Yeah, we do! Game's too easy. Okay, there's our phenolic PCB. And we're gonna make a couple more MV circuits. These MV circuits are for an assembler. So we're in an interesting situation for copper because we drained the tetrahedrite mine. Like, there's no more accessible copper in there, and I say that because there is definitely a lot of copper. It's just gonna kill us if we try to get it. So there's another copper mine I know in the middle of a lake. Well, not any lake, it's our lake over there. Oh wow, that is quite a chunk border. Hold on. If nothing can possibly cave in, or nothing that's actually damaging, then why don't I just... oh. Okay, it actually just won't stop. I can keep going down, there's no caves. I actually checked the map, the only cave was the one we were dealing with earlier. Though actually, the noises say otherwise. I don't know what that's all about. I haven't seen any problems since the earlier cave. Yeah, this works. I should do this more often, because that was really fast. I can't even calculate how much copper this is. I mean, if I were just to take this, that's like over 3 whole rows of copper ingots if I were to smelt it. Okay, so we're making a bunch of cupronickel, which is probably the most expensive part of the motors. And then I can just take 16 aluminum and turn that all into rods. I think it would be safe to run more blast furnace recipes now. I think I'm fine to do that. Okay, so I have everything for these motors. Get our cupronickel coil around there. And there, 16 MV electric motors. So this will handle all of our machines that we will be making for the rest of the episode. Now the first of which will be the assembler, because the assembler allows us to make transistors, and also it'll be faster than this one. Okay, 2 MV pistons, 1 robot arm, 2 robot arms. MV assembler. So we don't actually have a lot of repeat machines, like the mixer and the electrolyzer and the chemical reactor are probably it. But this is going to be the most important repeat machine. It'll run twice as fast, and we're able to do transistors in there. Advanced integrated circuits need RAM, transistors, IC chips, and these MV circuits that we already have. So the next thing we're missing are these RAM chips. We make 32 per wafer, that's amazing. So I already made the emerald lens earlier, so I can just engrave 2 of these silicon wafers immediately. And while that's going, let's make our transistors. Something we don't actually have is this silicon plate, which I kind of looked over because it looks like steel. Oh, okay, it's just gonna overcomplicate things. Apparently I can make a silicon boule, but not a silicon ingot. It wants me to use canthal coils. Why? I can do that, right? No, it's an HV-EBF recipe. Yeah, I should explain, because I just went through all those recipes without actually saying anything. Transistors need a silicon plate, which needs a silicon ingot, which needs to be cooled from a hot silicon ingot, which needs to be made in the blast furnace using canthal coils. So canthal also needs to be made in the electric blast furnace, and it needs to be made at HV. And so we need an HV blast furnace. So I'm just going to make 2 MV energy hatches, and these energy hatches we would have used either way, because the whole point of our boiler is to upgrade the EBF to HV, but now we just have to do some weird stuff to make that a little bit earlier. Oh, I see another thing in the recipe. It needs a ULPIC, or ultra low power IC, which means I need a sapphire lens. Might be time for an MV lathe. Okay, here's an MV lathe, and I'll just take my sapphire and compress it into a block over here. Okay, and then we can cut this compressed sapphire into 9 plates, and put that into our lathe. That'll take 60 seconds. Oh, I also made RAM wafers, right? It's gonna be a while before we can actually use those, but hey, we have RAM wafers. Okay, but our sapphire lens is done, so ULPICs are now craftable. But yeah, this episode is gonna be filled with blast furnace upgrades, or at least the end of this episode. Well, right now we have the 2 MV machine hulls here. I can upgrade them now. MV energy hatch, 2 of them. I'll have to hook this up into here. Yeah, the multi-block will not form right now, so I do actually have to remove an LV hatch, which means that these turbines are no longer useful. Okay, the blast furnace is back together, and it is HV, but I cannot turn it on because there is no power in it. So once I make this upgrade, we will not be able to run the blast furnace nearly as much as we have, because it will start draining the batteries very quickly. So yeah, an HV blast furnace is a huge leap forward. I just wanted to wait a little bit first. Get some sustainable power generation, but no, we have to hook it directly into our MV line, where it'll just eat up all the power. This is going to be 4 amps of MV power on one machine. I have an idea to make this a little bit better, and it's to use nitrogen. Because nitrogen removes a bit of the oxygen from the environment, and that can allow a better smelt in real life. Actually, in real life we use argon, but that's later in the game. But in this game, all that means is the recipe goes twice as fast for the same power cost. So the best way to get nitrogen is to centrifuge air, because that's where the most of it is. And we already have an LV centrifuge, so we just need to get air from a gas collector, which isn't that bad to make. But I'm going to get a gas collector here, and now it's going to start making air, and then I output it into this centrifuge, which will make nitrogen. This is becoming an abomination over here. 15-second aluminum recipe. You can watch the progress bar go up this time. 8-second steel recipe. Yeah, that's just some HV blast furnace fun. Let's actually progress now. So I need to upgrade all my coils to canthal, which will need, I think, 128 canthal wire. So we need 43 chromium, 43 aluminum, and 43 iron dust. Aluminum dust is very easy, we have plenty of that. The real problem, though, is that chromium, which I think our best source right now is ruby. Okay, so I could give up on this steel boiler altogether, but the reason I chose the steel boiler as an ending goal for the episode is because of those HV circuits. So we're gonna get that boiler because it is a great ending to the episode. It means I can get HV equipment. But there's a lot of stuff in HV, like canthal coils and stainless steel, which need a lot of chromium. So we're gonna go find a chromite vein instead of using the ruby like I planned, because ruby just doesn't seem good enough. So we're gonna have to go prospecting. Alright, that sucked. That was actually worthless. I'm gonna say everything now so that I don't have to edit in a second of that. But I have explored my entire continent and found an insane amount of veins. One of them was actually chromite over here, but it had 2 blocks of ore. I think what's wrong here is sedimentary rocks sort of just stop at around Y30, which is the depth that I need for this vein, and so it just can't find a valid spawning location. Those 2 blocks were probably because just a little bit of sedimentary rock made it down below Y30 and was lucky. But yeah, we're not using chromite. Forget everything I said right before this. We're not using chromite. Where's the redstone vein? That's a bad redstone vein. I think we're just going to use our vein that we have over here. Okay, so I have turned this cave into a proper mine. The entire roof is covered and I've squared out the floor. So now I can probably just go absolutely wild. Get ready for this mine to just disappear. Oh no. Oh no. That's terrifying. I don't know how far that goes down. Why I'm going absolutely wild without doing any checks is I don't have to check. If something like this cave exists, it'll make itself known very quickly. And also that makes the mine worthless, so I might as well just nuke it. Yep. Holy shit. I'm so good at being unbelievably reckless. I'm just leaning into the joke at this point. There's a point where I'm triggering so many cave-ins that they start overlapping and it actually becomes safer. No, I don't think that's actually true. I'm just saying it to justify these horrendous mining methods. How's the bed all the way over there? I have gone from a top cave down there. I've destroyed the entire floor here. You wouldn't even know it was there before. And then I've caved in even further down to that schist. I gotta keep going, though. I gotta get the ruby. Oh, no! Oh no! I keep getting one-shot by those. Yeah, I think that's enough of this mine, considering that I literally cannot move anymore. Interestingly enough, I'm pretty sure I will be able to come back here. Not to this specific part of the mine, but we only touched like 10% of the vein. The other 10% is fully in the rocks, and I could easily keep it safe from whatever tomfoolery I've done here. Am I the only one who didn't know you could do shift space on a ladder to go straight up? He's watching Green, and he was going up a ladder and he was able to look around and I was very confused. But yeah, you can just hold shift and space to go straight up. Played this game for 8 years, didn't know that. Okay, can I fit it all into here? I think I can, because I didn't put anything in a backpack for some reason. So now that we have all of this ruby, we can crush it down into dust and get lots of chromium out of it. Actually, this whole ore processing line is filled with chromium byproducts. And with all this chromium, we'll only need 43 for now to get 129 canthal. We'll use basically all of that in making 2x wires for these canthal blocks. If I were to just put this in the macerator right now, I'd get 2 crushed ruby per ruby ore, which is pretty good, but it can be better. You can see all of these, they have chances of extra. And that's actually only possible in the HV macerator. A cheaper way of doing that would be this crushing wheel, which is also faster anyways. So this is just completely a create thing. They've changed the recipe, but it is mostly just a create thing. And we're gonna need a lot of electron tubes, but luckily, we have a factory that makes basically every component of electron tubes, so we don't have to worry about any of that. Okay, here, this is probably the most electron tubes we will ever make in the playthrough. Again, I don't know why they chose to make it that expensive. Okay, so now we have everything we need for 21 mechanical crafters. Here we go, 2 crushing wheels. The best way I've seen to make a crushing wheel work properly uses a bunch of large cog wheels, which is very expensive, but whatever, we have the machines to do it. Okay, I can go like this. So if you just have this cogwheel going backwards, you can have both of these run the same way. Well, not the same way. The whole point is making them run opposite ways. And put down our crushing wheels. It is actually running. Mostly because I've lowered the speed a lot. Okay, now we can take our ruby and we can just crush it in this crushing wheel. It's just macerator 2. That was actually very good. Okay, so now we have distilled water. Just so that I can wash this ruby faster. I'm taking every step I can to make this better. 10 seconds per ruby, 33% chance of getting chromium, and we got some on the first go, and then this purified ruby I will just hammer down into dust and wash normally. So now we're going to start building up chromium, which will be the most important thing for HV. This stuff is used for everything from HSSG to ultimate, stainless steel, vanadium steel, nichrome later, canthal right now. Okay, so I'm just gonna melt all of this copper, turn this aluminum into foil, and that's everything else we'll need for the canthal coils. I'm starting to realize that these coils are gonna take an unbelievably long time to make, because we're gonna have to use this recipe, which is 30 seconds. That's an hour! That's an hour of smelting canthal. What am I gonna do in that time? I guess I can work on the rest of the casing. I'm gonna have to edit out so much of that. That's like mind-numbingly boring. This video is gonna be well over an hour long, isn't it? Here's 43. So it takes 15 seconds per canthal in here and 30 seconds per canthal in there. With both of these machines, it's going to be using 5 amps of MV power. This is going to be a very long saga of upgrading the coils, starting now. It's a pretty fast recipe because I have it pumped full of nitrogen. But yeah, we basically have to stop everything else. Like, this is going to use so much power. I'm just cutting power to this area. But yeah, that is our first canthal ingot, and we'll very slowly turn it into these wires, which can heat up all the way to 2.7 thousand Kelvin. Yeah, like I said, this is going to take an hour, and it's also going to eat my battery buffer. I can still run any LV machine. This network isn't connected to the EBF. But yeah, this is going to be a long hour of just sustaining the factory. And hey, you know what? I'm good at editing, so I think I can just use magic to cut through this. Here. 2 stacks of hot canthal ingots. And you can see the base is a bit different. I added a staircase there, lit up some areas, planned some factories, did some math. Got this chest full of stuff. I'm gonna turn this all into steel. But we finally have the 128 canthal. But yeah, I had to disconnect and reconnect the power so many times. Battery buffer is immediately recovering. Yeah, I learned that the large steel pipes weren't good enough once I added a 4th turbine, so now I've moved both output hatches to the bottom here. And combined these large steel pipes, so that is 4 turbines running at mostly full capacity. Okay, so this is a little bit annoying because we have to get these hot canthal ingots into this chemical bath. You're fucking kidding me. These devs are actual trolls. MV chemical bath. What do you need the MV chemical bath for? Logically, I mean. I'm not gonna put most realistic mod in the title. No, it would be too inconsistent if I did that. Well, we're gonna have to make 8 more MV motors. Because apparently the last 16 we made wasn't enough. So I decided that I would make all of the rubber I possibly can in one chemical reactor recipe. This is gonna be 14 batches, 126 rubber in one recipe, because why not? Okay, here we go. Can finally make my motors if I actually got enough magnetic rods. 8 motors, and then I think I can immediately make the 2 conveyors. Here we go. MV chemical bath. Let me just make sure this is the right one, actually. Yes, chemical bath. And we can place that at the end here, and get some distilled water for it. So now, the part that could kill us. I don't think it's actually that bad. We just gotta move these canthal ingots into the chemical bath. Oh, I should get a hopper. Okay, here we go. There, now they're cooling. It'll take 13 seconds per ingot with 128 ingots. We'll also have to make more distilled water, so I'm gonna get a bunch of water in this distillery. So there, now it won't fill up its buffer, and we'll just get an immense amount of distilled water. Over here, we have 8 canthal ingots already. If you're playing this pack yourself, use the quests, okay? I'm making a very bad example by not using them, but I should have a lot of these things. In fact, while waiting for canthal to smelt, I should have been doing that. Where is it? Oh, actually, no. It needs cheats anyways, I think. Yes, if I enable editing mode, I think I can just start auto-completing quests. No, it cleans up the whole tab. No, now it thinks I've completed the whole quest book. Well, I pressed the wrong button. I'm glad there's no quest rewards. So, quests are fixed, but it also thinks I won the game. Can I undo that? Okay, well, I can fully reset, but that's kind of sad. Come on, I made a mod pack. I should know how that menu works. Actual canthal, though. It does feel good to hold this stuff, because it has been shockingly annoying to make it. This battery buffer is a beast, though. I'm glad we did that at the start of the episode. By the way, I completely forgot that that was the start of this episode. I thought that was like 2 episodes ago. This may be one of the longest episodes, beating out the Kaolinite journey. Which, like, wow, that is just a feat. Hopefully the actual video itself isn't that long. Okay, come on. No, you can't excuse this. Red steel is way easier to smelt in a blast furnace than silicon. This is the real silicon melting point. Why? This is a glitch. They need to fix this. This isn't just anger, this is basic logic. Look at the melting point of silicon, and then think about the monocrystalline silicon boule, which I can make with a blast furnace 20% the strength. In other news, I have a new wrench. And I'm getting this new wrench not because the old one's low durability. It's not. It's instead because this thing breaks things much faster, and I want to break things faster. Okay, the last 2 canthal ingots are here. After this, I'm going to put these all into the wire mill and turn them into 2x wire. And then we can put them in here, where I have everything else prepared to get 16 canthal coils and replace those cupronickel coils. Then with the remaining cupronickel coils, I might make another EBF, I might make a pyrolyze oven. I actually haven't decided yet, but look at this. I'm pretty sure this is 128. Yeah, it is. Holy shit. Why is it going so fast? Apparently canthal is soft. This is making wires faster than it can do tin or copper. So the first 2 recipes are starting now. Let's go. 15 seconds. Again, another ridiculous recipe, but not as bad as the EBF. Nothing will be as bad as the EBF. And here we have our first canthal coil block. Yeah, while all of this is going, I have to process 216 steel ingots, which isn't that bad when you do 1 every 8 seconds. I was ready to give up on this whole thing, but I think this is probably the most spectacular end to the episode I'll ever have. 3, 2, 1, 0. There we go. The last 2 stacks of canthal wire off into the assembler to make the last coils. Oh, we're so close. And this is the last coil recipe going now. 5 hours of chromium processing, ruby mining. The aluminum factory also counts because there's a lot of aluminum in there. I actually used the hematite from there to make the iron. And then, of course, the massive smelt. Everything all together to get a full canthal EBF. "32 seconds to make a silicon ingot. Finally! I could make an episode out of just the silicon ingot. That was unreasonable. And there's our hot silicon ingot, which I will immediately move into this chemical bath. And guess what? We only even needed 1. There's a silicon ingot. It should not be that bad. Like, a monocrystalline silicon boule is considered an ingot in real life. So I'm going to turn these last ingots into plates. So now we can put the silicon plates and the tin wire in, and finally make transistors. The successor to vacuum tubes was transistors. These things allow you to basically have a little switch without actually flipping a switch, meaning no components were worn out, and you could shrink them as much as you want. Transistors in real life, I don't actually know when they were invented. They were a huge breakthrough. Up until then, most people were using vacuum tubes for a lot of things. In GregTech here, you do have silicon wafers, so in a way, I guess transistors already existed. But these are a huge computational breakthrough, and we can use them for our own computational breakthrough with HV circuits. So I made this RAM like 4 days ago. Now I can actually use it. Okay, there's our LV circuits, really old stuff. We don't care about that because we have HV circuits. Here we go, the real recipe, 40 seconds. But just 4 of these, and that is enough for our large steel boiler. Steel boilers should not be how you progress. Instead, what you should do is you should get a pyrolyze oven with that tree farm that I made, and you should make that produce wood tar, turn the charcoal into wood tar as well, distill that into benzene, and then there you go, that's 4 amps of HV power constantly. But no, instead, my stubborn little brain decided that, no, we're gonna make a large steel boiler, and so here we are, with an HV circuit made from about 20 hours of blood, sweat, and tears. And this is our last HV circuit crafting now. Now, a normal person would use these HV circuits in an MV circuit assembler so that we can get things like this, but no, I'm not a smart person. Okay, turn 12 steel ingots into rods and 12 into plates. Okay, that'll get you 12 steel plates and 24 steel rods. And I'm now going to turn these 12 steel rods into frame boxes, because I can use those frames to make 6 steel firebox casing. And for now, we're going to use that for the large steel boiler block itself. So that's our firebox casing and the control block. So then I can have my 2 input hatches on this side. Then I'm going to make a couple plates for maintenance and muffler. Here's 2 LV machine hulls. And if I just grab all of the tools out of my backpack, here we go, LV muffler hatch, and that goes on the back. So that's the cheap part done. Now we need to do the actual casing. 72 steel plates for all of the casings, which means that this bender is going to be running for a very long time. And then I think it also needs frame boxes, which means 24 ingots turned into rods. And now, the most expensive steel-based recipe in the playthrough. Put this all together with my wrench there to make 24 solid machine casings. And actually I have to leave a staircase in because we don't have the pipe casings in the center yet. So we have to make another 4 plates along with the 12 I left in there for pipes. There, 4 pipes. There's our 2 pipe casings, and I believe that is all of the steel used. So I put an extra 16 ingots in there near the end just to make sure, and then in the math I rounded it up to 200 just so that I had spare steel. So this stuff can stay in here. It was purposefully too much. So now I can cover up these pipe casings, and if I did it all correctly, this should be formed. Yes! A large steel boiler, which goes all the way up to 2000 degrees. That's actually hotter than the pre-Cupernickel blast furnace. So all that's left now is to hook up the 4 turbines so that we don't actually have to leach off of the MV system for this. Okay, there's another 4 hulls. And now we're gonna make 1, 2, 3, 4 turbines. This is insane power generation. There we go. 4 large aluminum fluid pipes. These are probably one of the largest, well, some of the largest pipes we will ever make, simply because there is no reason to make better. So now we need to rebuild the system that we had on the other side, but over here this time. Okay, so with all of this, I think I have a proper steam engine. I regret doing any of this. Now I can't even extend my MV line, because this is in the way. But hey, I have a steam engine, and I'll try to pull off of it in the future, because otherwise this is worthless. Okay, the problem is it doesn't actually let you put water in these tanks, because it creates a bad mod. So what I have to do instead is I have to go like this. Now it's fine, and I can put the shaft back. and it has a bottomless supply of both liquids. Now I can just set the speed controller. 120. Okay, so I think this is ready now. We got the lava and water in there. There. The large steel boiler is now running. I'm gonna see if water is stable, just like we did with the large bronze boiler, because this thing's basically a nuclear bomb. But this is gonna start producing an insane amount of steam, which is gonna charge up all of these turbines really fast. I'm just gonna get the annealed copper cables, and we'll start the furnace. Okay, the final piece of the puzzle. I can grab 4 of these cables, link them all up, put them into there, and that is a use for this power. So let's throw a stack of aluminum in, creating a 15-second aluminum recipe. We're gonna have so much aluminum. Aluminum can be used in anything now. This really is a callback to the end of, I think it's episode 4, where I spent the whole episode just upgrading a bunch of things and then ending with a blast furnace upgrade so that I could make steel. And well, this is a blast furnace upgrade that can make steel very well. If I were to put steel in here, we'd get a 4-second recipe, basically for free, because this is no longer a problem. What do you mean? Oh, I know why. Suffering from success. I gave it a ULV output hatch. It produces more steam than that hatch can handle. So there, MV output hatch. This has 4 times the capacity of the ULV hatch I used for budget cuts. So now it's actually reliable. This blast furnace is extremely powerful. Canthal coils, HV power. This boiler is easily enough to power another one, and then even add 2 MV blast furnaces alongside of it. Like, I can do anything with this. So that will be the end of the episode. I know this episode was mainly just infrastructure. We got tons of rubber, upgraded the power grid a lot. I mean, over here we have another 4 turbines with the battery buffer. So many machines. And of course this. This might be the greatest improvement of the whole playthrough. So, next episode is AE2, or at least that's what I have planned. It might become unbearable, though. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. God bless.